Getting Started Guide for a VRS Survey with Trimble Access and a Trimble R10 receiver. In this Getting Started Guide, we will start with an overview of the Trimble R10 and the Trimble TSC3 data collector. We'll take a look at configuring a MiFi jetpack so it will work with a TSC2 or TSC3 data collector. We'll look at connecting and disconnecting to a MiFi jetpack when you are using a data collector. We'll look at logging into Trimble Access and creating a survey style in Trimble Access for a VRS survey with an R10 receiver. We'll create a job in Trimble Access utilizing state plane coordinates, start a VRS survey in Trimble Access, measure a point in Trimble Access, and then end the survey in Trimble Access. We'll then export a CSV file and transfer that file to a PC. R10 with a TSC3 VRS rover equipment overview. Your receiver is supplied with 2 lithium-ion batteries. These batteries should be charged fully before the first use. Keep all batteries on continuous charge when not in use. Batteries may be kept on charge indefinitely without damage to the receiver or batteries. Do not store your batteries in the receiver. If a lithium-ion battery is to be stored for long periods of time, make sure it is fully charged before storing and recharged at least every 3 months. The TSC3 battery should also be charged fully before the first use. Charging the battery in the TSC3 usually takes about 4 hours. Battery life in the TSC3 is up to 34 hours with all the radios turned off. The Bluetooth radio and the Wi-Fi radio will reduce battery life. Cold weather can also have an effect on the battery life. Pressing the power button once puts the unit in sleep mode. In this mode, the screen is off, but the unit still draws power. Hold the power button down for 3 seconds and choose Shutdown from the menu for long-term storage. This will turn the unit off and it no longer draws power. R10 receiver overview. On the front panel of the R10 receiver, there's a power button with a battery LED light, the Wi-Fi status light, the status light for satellites, the radio status light, and the status light for data logging and downloading. With the power button, press it once to turn the receiver on. Press and hold the power button for 2 seconds to turn the receiver off. Press the power button and hold for 15 seconds to delete the ephemeris file and to reset the receiver to factory defaults. Press and hold the power button for 30 seconds to delete any application files that are on the receiver. LED flash patterns. When the receiver is turned on and the battery is healthy, you will have a solid LED green light for the battery light. When the power gets low, that green battery light will flash in a fast pattern. When you're tracking less than 4 satellites, the amber satellite LED light will flash in a fast pattern. When you're tracking more than 4 satellites, the amber satellite LED light will flash slowly. When you're receiving corrections via your internet source, the radio LED green light will have a slow flash pattern. When you are not receiving any corrections, the radio LED light will be off. The TSC3 on the front panel has notification LED lights at the top left. The power button is the green button at the bottom left. The TSC3 does have a touch screen. You should always make sure that you keep one of the included screen protectors on the screen at all times for protection. On the back side of the TSC3, there is a camera with 2 flashes that can be used as a flashlight as well. There's a hand strap and the battery compartment is underneath the hand strap. The attached stylus has a screwdriver type end that will allow you to open the battery door. With a VRS rover, you will not need the 2.4 gigahertz radio antenna. To turn the TSC3 on, press and release the green power button once. Press and release the green power button once again to turn the unit off. Press and hold the green power button until the boot screen opens to reboot the unit. Release the power button when the boot screen appears. Configuring a MiFi jetpack. When you get a new MiFi jetpack, there are a couple of settings that I highly recommend you change from the factory defaults. The first is changing the 802.11 mode to 802.11b only. The second change is setting the security to none or to open. With older data collectors like a TSC2, both these changes are a must to ensure good connection quality and consistent connection. With a TSC3, you don't have to do it, but I've noticed a lot less support issues if you do change this, and a lot more consistent connection. Turn on your MiFi jetpack and allow it to get a connection on the network. Then take a wireless device. In this case, it'll be a laptop computer. You could also use a tablet or some other wireless device to connect to the MiFi wirelessly, not via the USB cable. So I'm going to come down on my computer and go to my Wi-Fi settings, disconnect from my current connection, and connect up to the MiFi. You'll need the password that can be found in the menu on the Wi-Fi or on the MiFi, and type that in. And then allow your wireless device to connect up to the MiFi. Once it's connected, open up a web browser. In this case, I'm going to use Google Chrome, and type in the IP address for the web UI of the MiFi. Normally this is 192.168.1.1. You can also check the documentation that comes with your MiFi to verify that this is the proper IP address for the web UI. Once I've typed that in, I'm going to hit enter, and it'll open up the web UI for this jetpack. Now this is a jetpack MiFi 5510. All the settings are going to be similar. You might see some different settings depending on which model of MiFi you have. First thing we're going to do is sign in. This uses your administrative password. This can also be found in the menu on your MiFi. So I'll go ahead and enter that in. And go ahead and click sign in. Now once we're connected to the MiFi and signed in, we can change the settings inside the MiFi. So I'm going to come over to Jetpack Settings, go to Wi-Fi, and the two things we want to change are the 802.11 mode. We want to set that to 802.11b only, and then the security we want to set to none. Once we've done that, scroll down and click Save Changes. It will reboot the MiFi when it makes these changes and disconnect you from the internet. That's fine. The changes are made. You can go ahead and sign out from the web UI. And again, you see that it disconnected from the MiFi as it reboots it. Now your MiFi has been set to an 802.11 mode or 802.11b, and the security has been removed. This will allow a TSC2 to connect to it, and it'll also make it easier for TSC3s to have a regular connection. Connecting a TSC3 data collector to a MiFi jetpack. Press the Windows key at the upper left-hand corner of your keypad. Then tap Settings. Then tap Connections. Tap Wireless Manager. Tap the blue Wi-Fi bar to turn the Wi-Fi on. If the Wi-Fi is already on, tap the blue bar to turn it off, then tap the blue bar to turn the Wi-Fi on again. Once the Wi-Fi is on, it should search for available wireless networks. Choose your MiFi hotspot from the list. If it doesn't show up on the list, tap Show All Networks. Once you've chosen your MiFi hotspot, tap OK. And the TSC3 will begin connecting to the hotspot. Once you see the name of the hotspot show up under the blue Wi-Fi bar, tap the X at the bottom right hand corner to close the wireless manager. Tap the X again to return to Trimble Access. Your data collector is now connected to your MiFi hotspot. Disconnecting a Trimble TSC3 from a MiFi jetpack. When you're done with your survey, it's best to disconnect the TSC3 from your jetpack by turning off the Wi-Fi. Tap the Windows key at the upper left-hand corner of the keypad. Tap Settings. Tap Connections. Tap Wireless Manager. Tap the blue Wi-Fi bar to turn off the Wi-Fi on the TSC3. Then turn off your MiFi jetpack. Hit the X at the bottom right-hand corner, hit the X again, and you're back in Trimble Access. A summary of connecting and disconnecting a TSC3 with a MiFi jetpack. So when you're connecting a TSC3 to the jetpack, first turn the jetpack on and allow it to get on the wireless network. Then go into the Windows settings and turn on the Wi-Fi in the wireless manager. When you're disconnecting, do the opposite. Turn off the Wi-Fi in the wireless manager first, then turn off the MiFi jetpack second. Logging in to Trimble Access. The first time you start the Trimble Access software, you will need to accept the license agreement. Click on the button for I agree, then uncheck the box for Show on Startup. Click OK. To log in to Trimble Access, tap on the bar that says Tap here to log in. We will log in offline mode. Type in a username. This can be anything you want. What this is going to do is create a file inside or a folder inside the Trimble data folder where your jobs will be stored under this login. I'm going to type in crew 1 for this login. You could have a login for different crews, a login for different jobs. Again, this is just going to set up a file structure inside the Trimble data folder. All jobs that are created under this login will be stored in that folder. So once my username's in, tap Next and then tap Finish. On the login bar, we are now logged in as Crew 1. Any jobs that are created will be stored in the Crew 1 folder. Creating a survey style in Trimble Access for a VRS survey with a Trimble R10 GNSS receiver. From the main menu in Trimble Access, tap Settings. From the Settings menu, tap Survey Styles. Then tap New at the bottom of the screen. Give your survey style a name. For this example, we'll use VRS. The style type will be GNSS. Then tap Accept at the bottom right-hand corner. Tap Rover Options. The survey type will be RTK. Use the drop-down arrow for broadcast format to change that to VRS CMR. Store points will remain vectors. Elevation mask will remain 10 degrees. PDOT mask will remain 6.0. Tap 1/4 at the bottom right-hand corner of the screen. The antenna type will be an R10 internal. Measured to will be bottom of quick release. For the antenna height, type in 2M if you're using a 2-meter fixed height rover rod. Leave the serial number blank and tap 2/4. Leave GPS L2C checked and GLONASS checked and check the box for L5. Tap 3/4. Leave the box for auto tolerance checked, check the box for exfil, and leave the box for tilt checked. If you do not wish to use the e-bubble, uncheck the box for tilt. We'll leave it checked for this example. Tap Accept at the bottom right-hand corner. Next, tap Rover Data Link. Under Type, use the drop-down arrow to change that to Internet Connection. Tap the black arrow next to GNSS Contact and tap the GNSS contact that we made earlier. Tap Accept at the bottom right hand corner. Tap Topo Point. Check the box for Auto Store Point, then tap 1/2. Uncheck the box for Tilt Auto Measure for this example. Tap Accept, then tap Store at the bottom of the screen. Tap Escape at the bottom left-hand corner of the screen, then tap the X at the top right-hand corner of the screen. Creating a job using state plane grid coordinates in Trimble Access. Tap on General Survey, tap Jobs, tap New Job, enter a job name. For this, I'll use VRS. The first thing we're going to change under Properties is the unit, so tap where it says meters. For this example, we'll change the distance and grid coordinates to US survey feet, the height to US survey feet. We have our angle units. If you wish to use quadrant bearings instead of azimuths, check that box. Change your temperature to whatever your job requires. You can set your grade to percent or ratios. Set your area. Tap 1/3. On page 2, set your volume to the units that your job requires. Tap 2/3. Your distance display and coordinate display can be set from 1 decimal place to 4 decimal places. Set your area display, your volume display, angle display, latitude and longitude. We'll change our station. We have a laser vertical angle display and a time format. When you have all your settings set the way your job requires them, tap Accept. Now we'll set our coordinate system. Tap where it says Scale of 1 and choose Select from Library. We're going to select US State Plane 1983. Set the zone for your area. Check the box for Use Geoid Model and select the geoid model from the list. Tap 1/2. Use Datum Grid will automatically be set to No. The coordinates should be set to grid. Enter in an average project height for your project. Tap Enter to accept that last line, and tap Store to store the settings. Tap 1/2. The COGO settings should be set to grid since we're working in a state plane grid job. Tap Accept. Tap Accept again. The job has now been created and the job name will appear at the top of the screen. Starting a VRS survey with Trimble Access. First, make sure you have your MiFi cut on and it's connected to the wireless network. Then we're going to follow the directions from connecting and disconnecting a TSC3 to a MiFi. If we don't have an internet connection, we can't start our VRS survey, so that's always the first thing we need to do. Push the Windows key at the upper left-hand corner of your keypad, then tap Settings, then tap Connections. Next, tap Wireless Manager. Tap the blue bar that says Wi-Fi to turn the Wi-Fi on. It will automatically try to connect to the last wireless source it was connected to, which in most cases is going to be your MiFi, and it should connect up within about 10 seconds. Once you see the name of your MiFi underneath the blue Wi-Fi bar, you know you have a connection. Tap the X at the bottom right. Tap the X again. Now back in Trimble Access, up at the top of the screen, we should have an arrow in our icon indicating that we have an internet connection. Again, if we don't have an internet connection, no need to start our VRS survey. So once we have that, on the right hand side of the screen, we see that we have 16 satellites and we see a picture of our receiver. This lets us know we have a Bluetooth connection to our receiver and we're ready to begin. Tap measure, tap your survey style, in this case VRS, and we'll tap measure points. Once your mount point pops up, we need to select our data source. Just tap on the data source that you wish to use. Make sure at this point that your receiver is out in the open. You need to have a good open sky, as this is the time that the receiver is going to initialize. Once we get the message down at the bottom of the screen that the RTK has initialized and we have a green check, we are ready to start measuring points. Check the precision estimates at the bottom of the screen and make sure that they are suitable for the type of work you're doing. First, we'll need to enter in a point name. This is generally going to be a point number. It's basically just the unique identifier for each observation in the database. So it can be a number or it can be alphanumeric. Surveyors normally use a point number for the point name. Next, we'll enter in a code. This is a description of the observation we're getting ready to measure. In this case, we'll put GS in for ground shot. And we're going to take a topo point, which is the most common type of measurement for doing a topo survey. Our antenna height should be 6.562 feet. That is 2 meters if you're using a fixed height pole, and it's measured to the bottom of the quick release. These were both set in the R10 survey style that we created, and this is how you want it set if you're using a fixed height pole and the quick release on the R10. Next, we're going to level the pole up using the E-bubble. You're going to want to make sure that you have the power button on the R10 facing towards you. Your nose should be pointing at the power button on the R10. This will allow you to synchronize your movements with the E-bubble so it'll match up just like a bubble on a pole would. If the power button's facing another direction, as you move, the bubble's not going to move with you. So make sure your nose is pointed at the power button. So we'll go ahead and we'll plumb that E-bubble up. Once it's inside the circle and it's acceptable, it's going to turn green. Get it as close as we want there. Once it's plumb, our values are good. We're going to tap on enter at the bottom right hand corner. Then we'll tap on measure to initiate the measurement. Since we set up auto store in the survey style, once the required number of epochs are gathered, the software will automatically store the point, automatically increment the point name by 1. It will keep the same code in case we're measuring multiple objects there with the same code. If we needed to type in a new descriptor, we could type that in. We'll go ahead and move the rover pole to another observation. Once we get to the next observation, we'll plumb the pole back up and tap the measure button again. Again, once the required amount of epochs are measured, the software will auto store the point, and we can keep on repeating this process to gather all the observations we need. Ending a VRS survey in Trimble Access. Once you're done measuring points, tap Escape, then tap Measure, tap NGNSS Survey. When the message pops up to power down receiver, tap Yes. Then tap the Windows key at the upper left hand corner of your keypad. Tap Settings. Tap Connections. Then tap your wireless manager. Tap Wi-Fi to turn the Wi-Fi off. Now you can leave the data collector in this screen if you're going to come back and start up. That way you're already in the wireless manager to connect up. to your MiFi, or you can tap on the X's at the bottom right hand corner of the screen if you need to return to Trimble Access. Exporting a CSV point file from Trimble Access. We're done measuring points in the field, back in the office, and need to export out a point file for the CAD software. Turn on your data collector, tap Jobs, Import Export, Export Fixed Format. Under File Format, use the black drop-down arrow to choose Comma Delimited, CSV, and Text. Set the fields in the order you need them. Tap Accept. And now we're prompted to choose the points that we want from the file. For this example, we'll choose all points and then click OK once the file is created. Now the file has been stored on the data collector. Transferring data to your Office PC. Turn on your TSC3 and connect it to your PC using the supplied USB cable. Once the TSC3 has been connected to the Office PC, Windows Mobile Device Center will automatically open. Click Connect without setting up your device, then under File Management, click Browse the contents of your device. Double-click on the hard drive of the TSC3, then double-click on the Trimble Data folder. Double-click on the Login folder, and double-click on the Export folder. Right-click on the CSV file and choose Copy. Then browse in your File Explorer to the file you wish to store the point file in. Right-click, paste the file. Then you can unplug the data collector from the PC and turn off the TSC3.